For 3 years, my dad refused to give me a raise, even though I was running the entire company. 2 weeks after my brother graduated, he made him the CEO. So, I started consulting for a competitor. They pay 5 times more, and now my dad's company is falling apart, begging me to come back. The day my own father handed the company I'd bled for to my unqualified younger brother, it felt like a betrayal so deep, it shattered everything I believed in. But what felt like the end? That was actually just the beginning of discovering my true power. I'm Jake, 32 now, and for nearly a decade, I poured every ounce of my being into my family's construction company. Grayson Construction wasn't just a business, it was the center of our universe. My dad, Harold, founded it 30 years ago, and from the moment I could understand words, he made it clear. "This will all be yours, Jake," he'd say, sweeping his hand across the office. "I'm building this legacy for you." Those words became my North Star. They shaped every choice I made. I double majored in business and construction engineering. Every single summer and winter break, I was at the company, starting in the tool shed, then as a laborer, then in the office, doing estimates. By my senior year, I was running small projects. My dad would proudly introduce me on job sites. "This is my boy, Jake. He'll be your boss someday." We'd all laugh, but the message was crystal clear. I was being groomed for leadership. Then there was Ryan, my younger brother, 10 years my junior, who arrived like the golden child. Where I faced consequences for every mistake, Ryan's were brushed aside with "he's just a kid," or "boys will be boys." I'd get lectured for AB+, Ryan got praised for doing his best with C's. My mom, Diana, would try to bridge the gap, saying, "Your father's harder on you because he sees himself in you." I wanted to believe her, but the favoritism was undeniable. Still, I loved my brother. I'd bring him gifts from college, teach him football, help with homework. I wanted to be the best big brother, no matter how our parents treated us. When I graduated with honors, I had incredible job offers from top firms with salaries that would make your head spin. But I turned them all down. "It's an investment in my future," I told my bewildered roommates. "I'll be running that company someday." Working for my dad full-time was brutal. My professors praised my innovative thinking. My dad met it with, "We've always done it this way." My mother was constantly mediating. And Dad, he was an authoritarian boss, demanding perfection, criticizing harshly, rarely praising. Talented people left because they couldn't stand his leadership. I swore that when it was my turn, things would be different. Looking back, every challenge with my father, every instance of Ryan getting special treatment, every moment I felt undervalued, it was all preparing me. I just had no idea for what. At 22, I officially started. But despite my qualifications and years of experience, Dad insisted I begin as a project coordinator, several levels below where I should have been. "You need to earn respect," he said. I worked 70-hour weeks, buried in tedious admin tasks, fighting for every ounce of respect from senior managers who'd known me since childhood. There were nights I just sat in my car, too exhausted to even go inside. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. The construction industry was gutted, and Grayson wasn't immune. We had to lay people off. I watched my father age 10 years in 6 months. During a bleak meeting, I finally spoke up. "We need to pivot to green building and energy efficiency. Retrofits." I had numbers, projections, government programs. I showed him the whole thing. "This isn't just about saving the planet, Dad," I pleaded. "It's about saving our company." He scoffed initially, but after 2 weeks of my relentless persuasion, he gave me a grudging green light for a small pilot project. I threw myself into it, working around the clock. That project came in under budget, ahead of schedule, and the client was so thrilled, they gave us 2 more contracts immediately. Even my dad had to admit I was onto something. Over the next 3 years, I transitioned 60% of our business to green building. I got certified, trained our team, hired specialists. Grayson Construction not only survived the recession, it thrived, while competitors crumbled. My responsibilities exploded. Without any official title or promotion, I was overseeing operations, developing client relationships, managing huge projects. By my 28th birthday, I was effectively running day-to-day operations. The Riverside Corporate Park, a 12-building complex, built to the highest environmental standards, was my crowning achievement. We beat out 6 larger companies. The client specifically praised my leadership. I built a team: Marcus, our financial director; Stephanie, who revolutionized our project; management: Thomas, a veteran superintendent who became our biggest advocate for sustainable practices. We created a collaborative culture. Turnover plummeted. We attracted top talent. I knew everyone's names, their families. When Jerry's daughter was hospitalized, I secured his job and salary. When Maria needed flexible hours for her masters, we made it happen. These weren't just kindnesses. They were investments that paid dividends in loyalty and dedication. Clients loved our new approach, often requesting me personally. Secretly, my dad was pleased, even as he pretended he was still running everything. I was doing everything a CEO would do, just without the title or the compensation. I genuinely believed formal recognition was around the corner. I couldn't have been more wrong. After 3 years of essentially running Grayson Construction, pushing profits to record heights, and making us a leader in sustainable building, I decided it was time. I prepared a detailed presentation: my contributions, our growth, market rate compensation for similar roles. I proposed COO, with a salary still below market rate. "I appreciate your ambition, Jake," Dad said after my presentation, "but I don't think you're quite ready." I was stunned. "Dad, I'm already doing this job. I'm just asking for the title and compensation that match my responsibilities." He dismissed me. "It's about timing, tradition, the big picture. Trust me on this." Disappointed, I kept working just as hard. 6 months later, after landing the largest contract in company history, I tried again. He claimed we were still recovering from the recession, despite our financial statements screaming otherwise. Maybe next year. By the 3rd attempt, a year later, I was running out of patience. Our revenue had doubled. Under my leadership, I had personally secured partnerships with 4 major developers. Yet I was making a fraction of what I could earn elsewhere, with no official recognition. The meeting got heated. "What exactly are you waiting for, Dad?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice level. "What more do you need to see?" He leaned back, irritated. "This attitude is exactly why you're not ready. You're too emotional, too focused on personal recognition. You're just doing your job, Jake. That's what you're paid for." "My job, Dad." I practically spat. "I'm doing your job. I'm doing the CFO's job. I'm doing jobs we don't even have titles for, and I'm doing them exceptionally well. This company is the family legacy," he shot back, "your inheritance. Everything I've built will be yours someday. Isn't that enough? Do you have to demand more right now?" I took a deep breath. "I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for fair compensation for the value I bring to this company right now. Other companies would pay me 3 times what I'm making here." "Then go work for them if money is all you care about," he snapped. That comment, that absolutely stung. Money had never been my primary motivation. I'd turned down huge offers to be here. To have my dedication thrown back at me as mere greed was profoundly unfair. About a month later, Ryan graduated college. Average grades, 0 practical construction experience. He'd interned at a marketing firm and mostly enjoyed the college experience. We celebrated his graduation. My dad toasted to Ryan, the newest business mind in the Grayson family. I genuinely smiled, happy for my brother. He was a good kid, just born into a favored position. 2 weeks later, my father called an all-hands meeting. Unusual. I figured it was a major project announcement or a restructuring I'd suggested. I couldn't have been more wrong. "I have an exciting announcement," Dad began, standing at the front with Ryan beside him. "My son Ryan recently graduated. Today, I'm proud to announce he will be joining Grayson Construction as our new Chief Executive Officer. Effective immediately." The room fell silent. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Every eye in the room turned to me, sitting in the front row, completely blindsided. "Ryan brings fresh perspectives and innovative ideas," Harold continued, either oblivious or deliberately ignoring the shock on my face. "Jake will continue in his current role, providing his valuable expertise." My current role, the one never officially defined, never properly compensated. The role that encompassed everything from operations to business development to financial oversight. And now I was supposed to do all of that under my inexperienced brother's direction. I made it through the rest of the meeting on autopilot, nodding mechanically, avoiding eye contact with colleagues whose expressions ranged from pity to discomfort to outright disbelief. When it ended, I slipped out a side door. I needed to be alone, to process this, to decide what the hell to do next. That night, I sat in my apartment, whiskey in hand, staring at the wall. 10 years of dedication, sacrificed opportunities, believing the promise that someday the company would be mine. All of it a lie. My father had never intended for me to lead. I was just the workhorse, valuable for my labor, but not for my leadership. And now I was expected to train and support Ryan as he waltzed into the role I had earned many times over. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Ryan took to his new CEO role with the confidence of someone who had never experienced failure. Within his first week, he redecorated the executive office with expensive modern furniture, ordered a luxury SUV for a company car, and announced a company-wide party to usher in the new era. At that party, I watched from the corner as employees offered cautious congratulations to Ryan, many shooting sympathetic glances my way. Marcus, our financial director and one of my closest allies, joined me. "This is temporary," he said quietly. "Everyone knows who really runs this place." I appreciated the sentiment, but I wasn't so sure. Dad had made his choice. Despite my personal hurt, I tried to support Ryan. I prepared detailed briefings on projects, client summaries, made myself available. He mostly dismissed me. "I've got this, Jake," he'd say. "Business is business. I learned all this in school." His first major decision came 3 weeks in. We were pursuing casino development projects. A sector we'd always deliberately avoided due to its volatility and complications. "Casino projects are where the real money is," he declared. "Ryan," I said carefully, "casino projects require specialized experience we don't have. The licensing alone would take months. That's the kind of risk-averse thinking holding this company back," he replied, glancing at Dad for approval. Harold nodded, clearly pleased with Ryan's boldness. This became a pattern. Ryan would propose ill-conceived initiatives. I'd raise practical concerns. He'd dismiss me as stuck in the past. My father consistently supported Ryan. After one particularly frustrating meeting, Ryan cornered me. "I know what you're doing," he hissed. "You're trying to undermine me because you're jealous. Dad warned me you might not be a team player." I was speechless. Not only was I being accused of sabotage for offering legitimate business advice, but my father had apparently been poisoning the well, preparing Ryan to see me as an adversary. That evening, I went to Mom's. "Mom, this isn't working," I told her, sitting on the porch. "Ryan has no idea what he's doing, and Dad's letting him make decisions that could seriously damage the company." She sighed, looking older than her years. "Your brother needs time to find his footing, Jake. And your father, you know how much it means to him to see Ryan succeed. What about me? What about what I've built? Family is complicated," she said, patting my hand. "Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for the people we love." The implication was clear. My sacrifice was expected. My brother's success was paramount. The family dynamic that defined my childhood was now shaping my professional life. Things spiraled rapidly. Ryan hired college friends for unqualified positions. We started buying materials from unknown suppliers at higher prices with quality issues. When Stephanie, our project management specialist, raised concerns, Ryan fired her, claiming personality conflicts. Thomas, our veteran superintendent, was next after refusing to certify shoddy work on one of Ryan's rushed projects. I was losing allies daily, watching the company culture I'd built crumble under impulsive leadership. When I tried to discuss this with my father, he brushed it aside. "Ryan's making necessary changes," Harold insisted. "You need to get on board or get out of the way." Marcus, still holding on but marginalized, secretly showed me the financials. Cash flow problems, increasing debt, declining profit margins. Ryan was spending money we didn't have on expansions we weren't ready for. The crisis point came when we lost the bid for Westview Office Park, a project that should have been a guaranteed win. Ryan had ignored my carefully calibrated understanding of the market and inflated our profit margin. That same week, we got notification of an audit on a current project due to compliance concerns. Our client, a long-standing partner, had become suspicious. After interactions with Ryan, watching the company I loved, the company I had helped build, falter under my brother's leadership, I felt heartbroken and, yes, a grim vindication. Everything I'd predicted was coming true, but there was no satisfaction in being right. People's livelihoods were at stake. I was trapped. Stay and watch the slow-motion collapse, or leave and abandon the company that, despite everything, still felt like mine in all the ways that mattered. Then, the decision was made for me in the most unexpected way. The call came on a Tuesday. Mr. Grayson, this is Catherine Wilson, CEO of Evergreen Construction. My heart nearly stopped. Evergreen was our main competitor in sustainable building, a company I deeply respected. Catherine Wilson was a legend. I was wondering if you might be available for lunch today. Yes, I think I could arrange that. I stammered, my mind racing. We met at a discreet restaurant. Catherine was direct. I'll be blunt, Jake. We've been watching the situation at Grayson Construction with interest. Your father's decision to install your inexperienced brother as CEO has been a topic of discussion in industry circles. I shifted uncomfortably. Our internal drama was so public. I'm not here to gossip, she continued. I'm here to make you an offer. Evergreen would like to bring you on as a consultant. Your expertise in sustainable building is unmatched. Frankly, we think your talents are being wasted. A consultant? Yes. With a compensation package 5 times what we estimate you're currently making. She slid a folder across the table. The number inside made my eyes widen. It was more than I'd ever asked my father for, more than I'd dreamed of making at this stage. Why not just hire me full-time? I asked. Catherine smiled. 2 reasons. First, this gives you freedom and potentially allows you to maintain family relationships that might be severed by a direct move. Second, it gives us both a chance to see if there's a good fit for a more permanent arrangement. It was generous, thoughtful. Still, leaving Grayson, despite everything, felt like tearing out a piece of myself. I told her I needed time. That night was one of the longest of my life. Loyalty versus opportunity. Family ties versus professional respect. I called my college friend, who listened patiently. Jake, he said, you've given that company 10 years. They've consistently undervalued you, and now they've humiliated you. What exactly do you owe them at this point? His words struck home. What did I owe a father who broke his promises? A brother who saw me as competition? A company that took my dedication for granted? The next morning, I requested a meeting with my father. When I entered his office, Ryan was there too. I've received an offer from Evergreen Construction, I said without preamble, placing Catherine's folder on the desk. Harold's face darkened. Catherine Wilson is poaching my staff now? Unacceptable. She's offering me 5 times my current salary for my expertise, Dad. Not for company secrets, but for my knowledge and skills. The same knowledge and skills you've repeatedly refused to compensate fairly. Ryan snorted. So, this is about money after all. I told you, Dad. Jake's just out for himself. I turned to my brother. This isn't about money, Ryan. It's about respect. It's about recognition for 10 years of building this company while you were partying through college. It's about watching someone with 0 experience waltz into the position I earned through years of hard work, just because he has the right last name. You're jealous. Ryan shot back. You always have been. Dad saw something in me that he doesn't see in you. Leadership potential. I actually laughed. There was no humor in it. Leadership? You've been CEO for 4 months. And we've already lost 2 major clients, our best project manager and our most experienced superintendent. Our safety record is slipping. Our bids are being rejected. Our cash flow is a disaster. That's not leadership, Ryan. That's entitlement and incompetence. My father stood, his face flushed with anger. That's enough. I won't have you speaking to your brother that way. If you take this job with Evergreen, you're turning your back on this family. Is that what you want? I looked at him steadily. I think you turned your back on me first, Dad, when you decided that Ryan deserved everything I'd worked for without having to earn any of it. I've given this company a decade of my life. I've sacrificed higher pay, better opportunities. And after all that, you still couldn't see my value. Catherine Wilson saw it immediately. So you're leaving? He said, his voice flat. Yes, I'm accepting Evergreen's offer. I'll give 2 weeks' notice, provide thorough documentation, and do everything possible to ensure a smooth transition. That's more consideration than either of you showed me. Ryan stood, pointing a finger. If you walk out that door, don't expect to come crawling back. When you fail, I smiled sadly. I'm not the one who's failing, Ryan. Look around you. Everything that made this company successful is falling apart under your leadership. I'm just choosing not to go down with the ship. I left the office with my head held high, though my heart was heavy. On the way out, I stopped by Mom's. Diana cried, but not for the reasons I expected. I'm crying because I'm proud of you, she said, surprising me. Your father and brother may not see your worth right now, but I do. Sometimes the hardest part of loving someone is letting them make their own mistakes. They'll learn eventually. I hoped she was right, though I had my doubts. My final 2 weeks at Grayson were tense but productive. I meticulously documented everything, briefed the remaining team members. On my last day, Marcus, Stephanie, who came back just for the occasion, and several other colleagues took me out for drinks. We'll be fine, Marcus assured me, though his expression suggested otherwise. And if we're not, well, put in a good word for us at Evergreen, would you? I promised I would. Looking around at those faces, I felt a surge of emotion. These were my people. Leaving them was perhaps the hardest part. But sometimes, I reminded myself, you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. I couldn't save Grayson Construction if I was suffocating under the weight of familial expectations and professional disrespect. It was time to breathe free. My first day at Evergreen Construction was a revelation. Catherine Wilson personally introduced me to the executive team, clearly communicating my role and the value I was expected to bring. I had a spacious office, an assistant, immediate access to everything. Your reputation precedes you, Catherine explained. We have clients specifically asking if you'll be involved in their projects. The culture shock was profound. At Evergreen, ideas were evaluated on their merits, not who proposed them. Meetings were efficient, decisions data-driven, success celebrated. When I suggested modifications to their sustainability practices, Catherine not only listened, she implemented them within the week and gave me full credit. My first consulting project was for Meridian Properties, a developer I'd worked with at Grayson. They were disappointed by the declining quality after Ryan took over and eager to work with me again. A mixed-use development with ambitious sustainability goals, exactly what I thrived on. With Evergreen's resources and Catherine's full support, I delivered a proposal that exceeded Meridian's expectations. We won the contract, $20 million. At the celebration dinner, Catherine raised her glass to Jake Grayson, whose expertise just added $20 million to our bottom line. This is just the beginning. Over the next few months, I helped Evergreen secure 4 more major contracts, all in the sustainable building space I had pioneered. Each success felt like validation. Each expression of appreciation from Catherine and the team was balm for the wounds left by my father's and brother's betrayal. Meanwhile, news from Grayson grew increasingly dire. Marcus called me regularly, keeping me updated on the downward spiral. Ryan's casino development gambit failed spectacularly. They'd spent hundreds of thousands, only to be rejected by the Gaming Commission due to insufficient experience. He's blaming you, of course, Marcus reported. Says you sabotaged the application. Your dad seems to believe him. I sighed, unsurprised, but still disappointed. That's ridiculous. I documented everything. Facts don't seem to matter much these days, Marcus said grimly. Ryan fired 3 more people yesterday. Says he needs to trim the fat. Jerry, our estimator with a 12-year perfect record, was gone. That wasn't trimming fat, it was cutting muscle. The situation worsened when Grayson's largest active project, a 6-story office building, experienced structural issues due to substandard materials from Ryan's college friend's supply company. The client halted construction, demanding testing and remediation, cost the company couldn't afford. 2 more major clients canceled contracts. Grayson's reputation, which I had spent years building, was crumbling in a matter of months. Harold finally tried to right the ship, but the damage was extensive. Ryan, instead of taking responsibility, lashed out at everyone, blaming employees, the market, and especially me. Your brother is telling anyone who will listen that you stole proprietary information and gave it to Evergreen. Marcus told me. Says that's why they're winning all the bids lately. My anger flared. That's defamation. Evergreen is winning because they have experienced leadership and a solid team, not because of stolen information. Catherine, when I shared these accusations, was furious but unsurprised. This is what happens when incompetent leaders fail, she said. They look for scapegoats. Don't worry, your reputation is solid. No one who matters believes those accusations. She was right. Far from damaging me, Ryan's accusations only made him look desperate. The final blow to Grayson Construction came when their flagship green building project, one I had designed and initiated before leaving, experienced catastrophic systems failures due to improper installation and inadequate oversight. The client, a major technology company, publicly terminated the contract and announced they'd seek damages. This disaster made local business news, with industry analysts pointing directly to the leadership changes at Grayson. Ryan's inexperience and the exodus of experienced staff were cited. The article didn't mention me by name, but anyone in the know understood exactly who they were referring to. Harold finally called me directly, 6 months after I had left. His voice sounded older, wearier than I'd ever heard it. Jake, he said without preamble, we need to talk. I agreed to meet for coffee at a neutral location, curious but wary. When I arrived, I was shocked. He'd lost weight. His face was drawn. The confident posture I'd always associated with him was gone, replaced by the slumped shoulders of a defeated man. I made a mistake, he said after we settled with our drinks. The admission, so simple yet so unexpected, momentarily left me speechless. Several mistakes, actually. I'm listening, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Ryan wasn't ready. I see that now. I wanted so badly for him to succeed that I ignored all the warning signs. And in the process, I lost my best asset, you. The acknowledgement was gratifying, but it came months too late. The damage to Grayson's reputation and finances was severe, possibly irreparable. And the damage to our family relationships might be even harder to fix. The company is in trouble, Jake. Serious trouble. We might not make payroll next month. The bank is threatening to call our loans. We need you back. There it was. The real purpose of this meeting. Not just an apology, but a desperate plea for rescue. What does Ryan say about this? I asked. Harold looked down at his coffee. He's struggling. Blames everyone but himself, of course. But he knows we need help. He knows we need you. 6 months ago, I might have jumped at this chance for validation. Now, secure at Evergreen. Finally receiving the recognition and compensation I deserved, I felt no urgency to rush back into the family drama. I need time to think about this, Dad, and I need to talk to Catherine. I have commitments at Evergreen that I can't just abandon. He nodded, disappointed but not surprised. I understand, but please don't take too long. We're running out of time. As I drove back to my office, I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted to let Grayson Construction fail, a vindictive impulse I wasn't proud of, but couldn't entirely suppress. Another part remembered the employees who had been like family, the legacy my father had built, the years of my life invested. When I shared the situation with Catherine, her response surprised me. I've been expecting this, she said calmly. In fact, I've been considering a more strategic approach than simply hiring you away from them. Grayson Construction has problems, but it also has assets, client relationships, specialized equipment, history in the community. What if Evergreen were to acquire Grayson? My jaw dropped. It would give us additional capacity, eliminate a competitor, and potentially provide a solution that preserves jobs and family relationships. Would you want me to lead the merged operation? I asked, a new hope rising. Catherine nodded. That would be the plan. You know both companies, you have the expertise, and you've proven your leadership capabilities here. It would be the perfect solution if your father and brother can accept it. And that, I knew, would be the real challenge. Could Harold Grayson, proud founder and patriarch, accept selling his company to a competitor? Could Ryan, failed CEO but still the golden child, accept working under his older brother? I was about to find out. 6 months after leaving Grayson Construction, I found myself sitting across from my father and brother in Evergreen's conference room, Catherine Wilson beside me. The proposal was thorough. Evergreen would acquire Grayson as a subsidiary, retain most employees, honor contracts, maintain the Grayson name for certain market segments. I would oversee both companies, effectively becoming CEO of the merged operation. Ryan would be offered a position in business development, a role better suited to his people skills than executive leadership. Harold would transition to an advisory role. The terms were incredibly generous, given Grayson's precarious financial position. Without this lifeline, bankruptcy was weeks away. Harold looked tired but thoughtful. Ryan, predictably, was less composed. "This is humiliating," he snapped, pushing the papers away. "You want us to surrender everything to our biggest competitor and demote me to a sales position after everything I've done for the company?" I bit back the obvious retort about what he'd actually done. This wasn't the time for recriminations. "This isn't surrender, Ryan," I said calmly. "It's survival. Grayson Construction can't continue as it is. You know the financial situation. This arrangement preserves jobs, maintains the Grayson name, and gives everyone a fresh start. A fresh start where you're in charge, and I'm taking orders from my big brother," he countered bitterly. "I believe I've demonstrated the ability to lead effectively," I replied, keeping my voice level, both at Grayson and at Evergreen. "This isn't about family hierarchy. It's about putting the right people in positions where they can succeed." My father, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. "Ryan, Jake is right. We don't have many options left. The company is 6 weeks from insolvency. No bank will extend more credit. This may not be what we wanted, but it's the best outcome available." Ryan looked at him in disbelief. "So, you're taking his side after everything?" "This isn't about sides," Harold responded, suddenly looking every one of his 67 years. "This is about reality. I made a mistake, son. I put you in a position you weren't prepared for. And I ignored Jake's contributions because I wanted so badly for you to succeed." The admission seemed to deflate Ryan completely. For perhaps the first time in his life, he was confronting the consequences of failure without anyone sheltering him. "What choice do I have?" he asked finally, his voice small. "You can walk away," I said gently. "No one would blame you. Or you can stay, learn the business properly this time, and contribute in ways that play to your strengths rather than exposing your weaknesses. The choice is yours, but I hope you'll stay. Despite everything, you're still my brother." Catherine, who had remained tactfully silent, spoke up. "The business development role we're proposing for Ryan is crucial to our growth strategy. With proper mentoring and clear expectations, it could be an excellent fit for someone with his education and interpersonal skills." Her diplomatic framing gave Ryan a way to accept without losing face completely. After more discussion, both he and my father agreed to the acquisition terms. As we concluded the meeting, Harold asked to speak with me privately. Catherine graciously offered her office. "I owe you an apology, Jake," he began, the words clearly difficult. "I didn't see what was right in front of me for years. Or maybe I did see it, but couldn't admit it to myself." "What do you mean?" I asked. "You're a better businessman than I ever was. More innovative, more forward-thinking, better with people. I was threatened by that, I think. And when Ryan came along, so much like me in temperament, but without your talents, I convinced myself he was the right choice. I wanted to believe the company needed someone like me, not someone like you." The admission was more self-aware than I had expected from my father. "Thank you for saying that," I replied, genuinely moved. "But the company did need someone like you 30 years ago when you built it from nothing. Different phases required different leadership styles. That's not a judgment on either of us." He nodded. "Maybe that's true, but I still should have recognized your value. Should have listened when you asked for the recognition and compensation you deserved. My pride cost us all dearly. We can't change the past," I said, "but we can build something better going forward. That's what I intend to do." We embraced awkwardly before rejoining the others. It wasn't a perfect resolution. There were still hurts that would take time to heal, trust that would need to be rebuilt. But it was a beginning. In the months that followed, The merger progressed more smoothly than I had anticipated. Most Grayson employees were relieved to have job security again, and many expressed satisfaction at having me back. Clients who had been hesitant returned. Ryan, to his credit, applied himself to the business development role with more humility than I had expected. Without the pressure of being CEO, he actually showed genuine talent for client relations and networking. We would never be best friends, but we were finding a way to be brothers and colleagues. My father gradually adjusted to his advisory role. He still chafed at not being in charge sometimes, but more often seemed relieved to be free of the daily pressures. He and I even established a weekly lunch meeting. As for me, I found that success was the best revenge. Though revenge no longer felt like the right word, I was building something valuable, something that honored the best parts of my father's legacy while creating space for innovation and growth. The recognition and respect I had sought for so long finally came naturally with the position I now held. 1 year after the merger, at our annual company gathering, I found myself reflecting on the journey. The betrayal that had once seemed devastating had ultimately led to personal growth, professional advancement, and even the healing of family wounds I had thought permanent. Standing before the combined teams of Evergreen and Grayson, now fully integrated under my leadership, I shared some of these reflections. Sometimes the path to where we belong isn't straight, I told them. Sometimes we have to leave what's familiar to find what's right. But that doesn't mean the journey wasn't worthwhile, or that what we built along the way wasn't valuable. Looking out at the faces of my team, Marcus, Stephanie, and Thomas, all rehired after the merger, I felt a sense of accomplishment, deeper than any I had known before. This was success on my terms, earned through capability, rather than conferred by birth. After the gathering, Catherine approached me with a smile. "You've exceeded even my high expectations," she said. "The merged company is stronger than either was separately. That's the mark of true leadership." Her words reminded me of something my mother had said during our most recent Sunday dinner. "You had to leave to be recognized, Jake," Diana observed. "Sometimes, that's the only way people see our true value, in our absence." It was a bittersweet truth, but one I had come to accept. My father and brother had needed to experience failure without me before they could appreciate what I brought to the company. My own journey had required stepping away from the familiar to discover my full potential. Now, looking back on those difficult days, I realized what seemed like betrayal was actually liberation. Being denied what I thought I wanted opened the door to something better. Being undervalued pushed me to prove my worth in ways that left no room for doubt. The lesson wasn't that family business is inherently flawed, or that recognition must come from outside to be meaningful. Rather, it was that our worth isn't determined by others' ability to see it. Value exists independently of recognition. And sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the courage to walk away from those who cannot, or will not, acknowledge what we bring to the table. If you've ever felt undervalued in your family, workplace, or relationships, I hope my story resonates with you. Sometimes walking away is the strongest move you can make, not as an act of vengeance, but as an affirmation of self-worth. Have you ever had to leave something behind to find your true path? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if my journey spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, your value doesn't diminish just because someone fails to see it.